Hey, yo, we got another video right now from Trust Me, Bro. We're doing another one because I like these and it's fun. So, let's look at survival myths that would actually get you killed. Is drinking pee one of them? Let's find out.
Survival myths that would actually get you killed.
Make sure you leave a
You
like,
and your
comment,
best bro are
and
sitting on the
subscribe.
couch watching TV, bored out of your mind. You're flipping through the channels when you see somebody you recognize. It's the British guy who goes outside and drinks his own pee for fun. After watching
it
him
is.
squeeze elephant
First
poop
one.
into his mouth to drink water, you decide to go outside and test your survival capabilities, and also test how real common survival knowledge really is in practice. Because let's be real, whether you're an outdoorsy person or not, we've all heard survival tips at some point in our life. Are these tips that we've always just accepted as truth actually life-saving, or could they potentially get you killed? And with you and your friends being inspired, you both pack your bags and head out the door for the adventure of a lifetime, not knowing whether or not this would be your last adventure. You were just dropped in an extremely remote location by a helicopter. And as you watch the helicopter fly off, you and your friend are now completely alone, left to your own devices, and your sole goal is to survive and make it home using only the knowledge that you've heard in passing. Before you and your friend can even take your first steps, you need to
they were
first
left to their own
understand what
devices.
direction should you
Can they
go.
Google
And
it?
before you could even think, your friend says, why don't we go north? And while you agree, you have a question. How do we know which way is north? But luckily, everybody knows if you want to know which direction is north, all you have to do is find a tree with moss on it, because moss will only grow on the north
That's
side
so
of the tree.
cap.
So you and your friend begin walking until you notice a tree that has moss growing on the bottom of it. And as you approach the tree, that you can see that the moss is in your direction, meaning that if you just do a 180 and start turning around, you'll be going north. Although, just to be sure, you take a quick look around the tree and realize that there isn't only moss on the north side, there's moss on the north, south, east, and west side. This tree trunk is completely covered in moss, and it's not the only one. All of these tree trunks have moss all over them, meaning that you have no idea which way is north, and also debunking this myth that moss is somehow a compass. But this myth isn't just straight out of a fairy tale. There is some basis of reality here,
What's the
although it's
credence
just
to
not
it?
fully accurate or reliable at all. According to Michigan State University, it is more likely for moss to grow
what I
more
wanna know.
prominently on the north side of trees and rocks, although moss can grow basically anywhere, meaning
Why
that
is
if
that?
you are using moss to navigate, you are setting yourself up for failure, and in a survival situation, setting yourself up for your
For
own
death.
possible demise. And while I like organic stuff as much as the next person, I'm gonna stick to my GPS, or at least my compass, when it comes to navigation. Feeling slightly foolish and a bit betrayed, you and your
Yeah,
friend
low-key.
decide to
I
confirm
know
which
there's, like,
direction is north with
biological
your compass
intelligence,
and
but
begin moving. So far, this walk is pleasant,
I don't
and the
know.
forest that you guys are in is
feel like,
beautiful and
with
lush,
stuff
and the
like
steps
that,
begin to
you
fly
really
by.
wanna know
You
what
and
you're
your
doing.
friend are almost lost in conversation
Unless it's,
when
like,
your friend realizes
irrefutable,
something
and you've
utterly
tested it.
terrifying. Because the vegetation on the ground is so lush, it's almost impossible to see what's lurking around your feet. And while your friend wasn't looking down, a venomous snake was able to slither onto his boot, up his pant leg, and wrap around your friend's thigh. But the snake didn't just end there. This snake, straight out of Diddy University, decided to bite your friend directly on the crotch. And by the time you even
Yikes.
noticed the
Diddy,
snake
you?
wrapped around your friend's leg, it was too
DU?
late, and your friend was screaming in agony. Fortunately,
people
you were able to
graduated
quickly
from
grab
DU
the snake and throw it off into the
2025.
wilderness. But now you are left with a massive problem. Your friend has just been bitten by a venomous snake. But fortunately,
yeah,
he has a survival
he's
tip.
done.
It's common knowledge that when somebody receives a venomous
Suck
snake
the
bite,
poison
the
out?
best thing to do is immediately suck out the venom, right? It's only logical. The entry wound is still fresh. If
That's
you
a
can pull the
crazy
toxins directly out of
read.
the wound, you're only dealing with a small cut
Oh
and not
my
any venom
gosh.
being directly injected into your bloodstream. It's
Oh my
perfectly
gosh.
logical. And although the placement may be a bit unfortunate, you'd be willing to help your friend out if it was life or death. But in reality,
That's
this
crazy.
practice wouldn't be
Hey,
helpful
for the
at
homies,
all.
y'all do
Here's
it?
how. Like I mentioned, it may seem initially logical that you would want to remove the venom by any means possible. And some people have even suggested that you should cut the injection site of the fang to make it bigger to be able to suck out more venom. But the reality is
What?
this. Once a snake has bitten its victim, there is no way
It's
for you
going
to
quickly.
suck out any meaningful amount of venom.
Yeah,
and if
it's
you were
going
to
in there
cut the bite
quickly, isn't it?
location, you would
Circulating like
only be
crazy.
making the wound bigger, causing a higher chance of infection. Speaking of infection, putting your bacteria-ridden mouth on your friend's fresh wound is only going to increase the chances of introducing bacteria directly
you just
into your
brushed your
friend's
teeth
fresh
like 8
wound.
times.
And while it is possible to suck out a small amount of venom, it is not going to be a large enough amount to save your friend's life. However, it could be a large enough amount to cause yourself serious bodily harm or potentially even death as well. So yeah, even though your friend was extremely keen on you removing the venom out of his wound the good old-fashioned way,
crazy.
you luckily both had access to Google just for this brief amount of time. And you were able to confirm that this practice
And
was
I suck
outdated
on my
and
friend.
potentially deadly and fatal to both of you. And the best course of action would be to limit your friend's mobility. This way, the venom would travel through your friend's body as
What are y'all
slowly as
doing in this
possible,
situation?
giving
Y'all
you
doing
the
it?
maximum amount of time
Let
to
me
get
know.
antidote before things got fatal. However, due to plot armor, you had antidote on you and you were able to heal your friend without doing any sort of mouth to wound suction. After you administer the antidote and you allow your friend to bandage himself up, you both continue on your trek through the woods. Feeling better and grateful to be alive, but also feeling more betrayed, because so far everything you thought you knew was wrong. But before you and your friend could continue to complain about how crazy that entire ordeal was, you run into a much bigger problem. A 750-pound problem that's looking you
What is that,
right in
gorilla?
the face. This problem is
Is
an
that
adult,
Nikocado
aggressive
avocado?
black bear. Your first instinct is to run the opposite way, but before you could even turn, your friend whips his arm around and clenches your arm tightly, holding you in your place. You look your friend in the eye and he tells you, "Are you crazy, man? We can't run away. We have to act like we're already dead."
The
And
only
with
thing
your
I
friend's
really ever
iron
seen
grip
of
being on your
Nikocado
arm, you have
avocado
no
was
other
when he
option but
fooled
to
the
lay down
internet
beside him. And now
and,
the
like,
both of
made
you
his,
are
like,
laying
big
on the
reveal. That's
ground
the
with
only
a
thing I've seen of him.
750-pound black bear slowly approaching your position. You and your friend at this point may be feeling like you just saved your lives. You outsmarted the black bear, and in a few minutes you'll be back well on your way. But in reality, you just made the black bear's life a lot easier and served him up 2 meals on a silver platter. I think most of us at some point have
People
heard,
said you
if
should
you
lay
see a bear,
down.
just play dead. But I think at this point, hopefully most people know that there is definitely some nuance to that. Specifically, that advice does not
What?
apply to all bears. Black bears, for example, do not take well to people playing dead. And this is exactly why the bear is currently shaking your friend in his mouth like a dog that just got a new chew toy. Black
that work
bears
for
are
brown bears?
notoriously aggressive. And if you encounter one, your best course of action is 1, slowly retreat if it doesn't notice you. But if it is fixated on you, your best next steps are to get
Run?
as big and aggressive as possible. Obviously, you can't fight this bear, but you want to make this bear believe that it's not even worth fighting you. You want to extend your arms and legs outward, look big as possible, yell, sound aggressive, do anything to intimidate this
Just
bear.
cap.
And if you're convincing enough, you may even
Flex
scare
on
the
the
bear in
bear
this
and
process.
cap.
Grizzly bears, on the other hand, are a bit different. Experts
That's
say
a
that grizzly
huge,
bears
like,
respond better
hockey
if
battle.
you actually do lay down on the ground, although it's best if you protect your neck just in case and remain still until the bear checks you out and hopefully leaves you alone. And if you happen to end up in a situation where you're face to face with a polar bear, your best bet is to pray. Because polar bears are like black bears, but worse. They are the most aggressive and the most likely to tear your head off. So yeah, although the advice of playing dead around a bear
Those
isn't
polar
fully
bears, yeah.
inaccurate, it once again definitely requires some additional context. The current popular saying is, if it's brown, lay down, if it's black, fight back, and if it's white, good night. Not because you're supposed to play
That's
dead,
crazy.
but because you're going to be dead. As you continue to lay motionless on the
can't fight a
ground,
polar
peek
bear.
open one of your eyes to see what's going on. You notice that the black
Who's
bear
taking a
had
polar
dropped
bear?
your friend and was
the
distracted
comments,
by
who's taking
something
a
else,
polar bear?
and luckily left you both alone. Your friend, while a little bit worse for wear, is still alive, and you help get him back on his feet, and you once again continue your journey. Feeling a bit bad for your friend, because at this point it looks like he survived 3 rounds with Mike Tyson, 4 days with Diddy, and 5 nights at Freddy's, you decide you would let him take a quick breather and go around gathering some food. Your friend sits down on a rock under a tree, and you decide to go and see what you can find. And once you begin wandering around looking, you realize one crucial thing. You have no
What's that?
idea what's edible or not, and you don't even know what's around you. But that doesn't stop you from looking. And quickly you find yourself approaching some interesting red mushrooms. Now, you know mushrooms can definitely be questionable, but the fact that you see a little snail munching away at these gives you hope. And as you pick these mushrooms, you notice
His
that there's
highly
actually small bite
specialized,
marks from chipmunks. This gives you all the confidence you need
digestive
to pick a
system
few
must be
mushrooms and
exact
put them in
same
your
as
pocket
mine.
and to continue scavenging. You continue looking around when you notice a small bush with inconspicuous red berries. You've never seen these berries before, but it doesn't mean that you can't eat them. And while you're cautious of these mysterious red berries, you notice a small bird fly down into this bush and carefully eat these berries before flying away. And once again, you rationalize with yourself, well, if this animal can eat this, obviously I can. If something was poisonous to them, they wouldn't eat it. So you go ahead and collect some of these berries as well. And you notice that you've been scavenging for hours. So you decide to return to your friend and show him your loot. Your friend doesn't seem too enthused by the small handful of random mushrooms and red berries, but something is better than nothing. And you and your friend begin to munch on the world's weirdest trail mix. Feeling energized from the food and also feeling energized mentally that you finally had some knowledge that was true, you and your friend both have a bit more of a pep in your step because you knew that you had at least some right information, right? That is until you realize your friend is looking in two directions and he is foaming at the mouth. In shock, you try to say something to him when all you can get out is a jumbled mess of slurred words, and you and your friend both pass out face down on the forest floor. The survival technique of eating what animals ate failed you both. And the reality is, animals are just better than you. And just because the animal can eat it doesn't mean you can eat it at all. Just think about it. Every animal has developed its own unique way of digestion, and the things that our bodies are able to safely process and consume typically come from thousands and thousands of years of consumption. And on top of this, some animals are just built different. Like cows, for example, they have 4 stomachs, and every animal processes the same foods differently. The bird that ate those red berries, for example, was able to pass the toxic seeds from those berries directly through its digestive system without any issues. And those seeds that are now a part of its excrement are now replanted and continuing the life cycle of those berries. But in your case, those seeds have been cracked open by your teeth and are now infecting your entire body with deadly toxins. And the chipmunk that was taking bites out of that small red mushroom has a specialized stomach acid that can neutralize the toxins within this deadly mushroom. However, you simply do not have the facilities to handle that. And the same mushroom that gives that chipmunk life gave you and your friend a near-death experience. Just because you saw an animal eating something does not mean it's not deadly for you. After a few hours being passed out on the floor, you and your friends slowly
I feel like anyone who studied like any bit of biology
you
should
and your friend
realize
decide
that.
it's time to get serious because the sun is soon setting and you guys need to eat food.
But I don't know, sometimes
Really quickly, I just wanted to mention that this
stuff
video
just
is
goes
sponsored
over
by Five.
and you
And
miss
right
it.
now, they have a special promo for you.
So
If
I
you
get
love
that.
catching a buzz in a
I
way that is
understand.
discreet, safe, and clean, you are going
Alright, sponsor giveaway. This is a long one. Okay, there we go.
approach it and peek over some bushes, you see and notice something fuzzy.
Oh.
Percent off all 5 products. Thank you, Five, for sponsoring this video. You and your friend
$5.
notice something fuzzy in the
$5
distance,
for
and as you slowly approach it and
What
peek
happened
over
to
some
those,
bushes,
man?
you see a lonely old caribou walk slowly into
I
it
never really got to
collapses
appreciate
right
them.
before your eyes. And while this is an
They-
unfortunate
they
sight for
folded
you and your
once I was
friend,
able to,
this
like,
could be life or death. And in this instance, having an
appreciate
endless
that.
supply of high
The
quality
value that
food
it
in
was.
front of you is something you and your friend couldn't have even imagined. You both approach the caribou to ensure that it's no longer with you. And once you have that confirmation, you begin to prepare the animal. Fortunately, for once, you were able to put useful knowledge to good use. And shortly after preparing the animal,
Yeah.
you and your friend are sitting at a campfire under a tree, under the stars, eating your first meal in what feels like forever. But as good as having a hearty meal feels, and as confident as you feel knowing you have a nearly endless supply of food, the reality is that you're not set for food at all. And while you might not realize it
Salted
now,
meat.
in the near future, eating this food alone could easily kill you. And the reason is simple but interesting.
Jerky?
And it all
Are you
comes
gonna
down
make
to
it into
biology.
jerky?
Your body simply can't digest protein without fat. And if your diet only consists of protein with no other micronutrient, your body could literally starve or develop protein poisoning. The term for this situation is called rabbit starvation, or the French-Canadian term caribou sickness. But they both refer to the protein poisoning I just mentioned. But the reality is
gotta
if
have
you
some
are
fats,
only
healthy
eating
fats.
direct, big game, lean protein, you are setting yourself up for failure. And it's because
not a
of this very
carnivore.
real caribou sickness that beavers were extremely valuable to North American indigenous people because beavers
they had
had
fatty
such
meat.
high amounts of fat, which is why beaver hunting and trapping was so important, not just for pelts, but also for fat, so
Survival.
that this fat could be consumed, allowing your body to properly digest the protein from the big game you also caught. Black bears are also a great source of animal fats, although it's much easier to trap a beaver than a black bear for reasons we discussed
Facts.
earlier. But yeah, if you tried to live solely
Hey,
off
if
of
your
a
hockey
big game
works on
carcass, you would soon find
your
yourself
Conqueror's
suffering
hockey is
from
big
a
enough,
strange form of starvation,
eating
simply
good for a
because
second.
your body needs protein,
Couple days.
but it also needs other macronutrients
Especially if
to
you can
properly
salt the meat
absorb and process this
and
protein.
dry it out.
Luckily for you and your
Turn it into
friend,
jerky
you're
so
both
it lasts
blissfully
longer.
ignorant to this fact, and you wouldn't be eating off this carcass for long enough to experience these symptoms. And after both of you have successfully filled your bellies, you decide that it's time to get some rest. You suggest to your friend that maybe you guys should build a quick shelter, just something to keep you guys safe. But your friend tells you that that's a waste of time and energy, and that you guys need to conserve your calories as much as
What?
possible right now. And you both simply lay down on the ground and close your eyes to sleep. But that
For
sleep
what?
isn't peaceful at all. And only a few hours into your sleep, you
Just
wake
make
up
some shelter.
freezing cold, colder than the air temperature outside, and you're kind of at a loss.
Yeah,
And
bro.
the reason
You're gonna-
is
you're gonna
rather
rest
simple.
after
Laying
you
directly on cold ground is a
make some
great
shelter.
way to rapidly reduce your body
Hypothermia.
heat. Literally, because the ground is stealing heat from your body and lowering your core body temperature, causing you to burn more calories to try to heat yourself back up, while also absorbing all of the extra heat that your body is generating. So in a cold environment like the one that you're in at night, you could not only lose body heat, but also experience hypothermia just by laying on the bare ground, which is why you'll see outdoorsy people swear by a ground mat. Consider it insulation to keep your body heat within you and not being stolen by the ground beneath you. And now that you understand that collecting debris to lay on is a worthy investment of calories, you quickly put together a bundle of grass and leaves to make something soft, but also to make something to insulate your body heat. And you make a makeshift mattress that's large enough for both you and your friend. And you roll your friend onto it, you lay beside him, conserving body heat, and you close your eyes and experience your first bit of rest.
If you're able to get that brown bear,
you
you can
decide
use
it's
that
time
pelt
to
too.
start your day and continue your
lay down on the
adventure.
ground.
You begin to inform your friend about last night's discovery and how sleeping on the ground is not
For the
okay.
black
But
bear.
before you can even finish making your point, your friend stops you and points ahead. Because what stands in your way is something you haven't noticed until now. A massive snow-capped mountain. And there's no way around it. You and your friend now
I
need
think
to
you're
begin
cooked.
hiking. Luckily, you and your friend are
Yeah.
energized.
Oh, you
for a
have
good night's
gear.
sleep and at least some sort of food that doesn't almost kill you. And as you and your friend begin to climb through this mountain, the temperatures begin to get
I was gonna say,
lower
we got
and lower.
gear.
And it's at this
Role
point where
play.
you're able to make the point to your friend that body temperature is something you guys need to keep in mind in these survival situations. But as your friend brushes off your concern about body temperature, he tells you the only thing you guys should be concerned about right now is water.
This
you
friend
begin
is
to get
gonna get us
nervous because
killed,
now
man.
that you're halfway up this
He just
mountain
don't care
surrounded
about
by snow,
anything.
there's no water around you. But your friend laughs
Who
at
is
you and
this
reminds
guy?
you that this snow is water. He grabs a
I don't
handful
know
of
that
snow
guy.
off the ground, which appears to be untouched,
My
and
friends
begins
would not
to
be
chow
like
down on
saying
his
that. They'd be like,
solid
yeah,
water.
we
And while
need
to
to get
most
some
this seems
stuff. We need to
completely
wrap
safe
up.
and
We need to do
logical,
something.
this
This
is
guy just does
definitely
not
not
care.
the most
Who is
ideal
this
way
guy?
to consume water. The first risk that this poses is that this snow or ice could actually cause micro tears or cuts in your mouth, which could definitely cause problems down the line. But more importantly than that, consuming ice directly is a surefire way to lower your core body temperature,
Yeah.
causing your body to work overtime to heat itself back up. Your friend may think that body temperature isn't an important ordeal, but you know that it's nothing to laugh at. And at this very moment, hypothermia is a much bigger risk to you than being dehydrated. But unfortunately, your friend is in a bit of a pickle. Because yeah, he was able to hydrate himself through all of the snow he just ate, but he's now shivering uncontrollably and he's hungrier than he was yesterday because his core body temperature has been lowered and his body is consuming as much calories as it can to heat itself back up. Now, you're thirsty as well, but you're not willing to go through that entire experience. And what you do is a lot more wise. You remember watching the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel, and luckily you had the same supplies that he did. You scoop up snow into some sort of metal tin, you put it over top of a propane heater, and you allow the snow to melt. And then you
Hey.
consume the pre-melted, ideally room temperature water,
Why didn't you
allowing
just
your
put your
body to
friend
not
on?
have to reheat it once it's consumed.
Why didn't
your
I
body
put
can
him on?
simply use it as is. And the benefit of using this method as well too, assuming you have access to some sort of heat source, is you can actually kill any bad bacteria. But
Yeah.
assuming that's not a risk here, you're able to at least avoid the whole hypothermia your friend is now fighting. After this whole water debacle,
Bruh.
you realize that your friend's
I
only
would've put
chance
you
of
on, bruh,
regaining
if you
any
just
sort
waited.
of heat is by continuing to move. So you keep on your path going over the snow-capped mountain. Unfortunately, your friend is no longer shivering, but you and your friend are now facing a much different issue. You and your friend
What's
are now
that?
both sweating, which is good. Body
Sweating?
heat at this point is not a concern at all. This shouldn't be an
Huh.
issue. And sure, you might smell a little bit later, but what is an issue is the base layer of what you and your friend are wearing. Before you even left, you and your friends were debating on whether or not you should wear your clothes in a certain order. And your friend,
gonna be
obviously
too
being a bit
cold.
more reckless, said it didn't matter at all. So we started by putting on
Bruh.
a cotton undershirt, a cotton hoodie, and then put a jacket over top that was
No
waterproof
moisture
to help
wicking?
keep water out. You, on the other hand, wanting to be different, decided to wear a base layer that was more moisture wicking, but still follow that
Yeah,
up
that's
with
what I'm
another
saying.
hoodie and a waterproof jacket. Now here's the difference. While you and your friend are still sweating now, as soon as you guys stop and your body heat begins to go down, the sweat trapped in your clothes is going to be deadly. And if your base layer is made of cotton, that sweat isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And after hours of hiking, you and your friend decide to take a break, and you guys experience the effects of this firsthand. After only sitting for around 15 minutes, your friend is not only cold once again, but he is shivering
Dang,
worse than he
bro.
was before. And like I mentioned,
Come on,
that's
bro.
because
Lock
now his
in,
cotton
man.
shirt is drenched with sweat. And when cotton gets wet, it
Dude.
loses its ability to insulate you, meaning that your friend has effectively put a cold conductor directly on his body, and also effectively removed a layer, making
Don't
him
even,
at
man.
risk
Who is
once
this
again
guy,
for
bro? bro.
hypothermia. Luckily for you, you
cannot be
unintentionally
moving like
decided
this
to dress
when we
and
go
act
out.
appropriately. You didn't wear a cotton base layer, meaning that by the time you already sat down and relaxed, your shirt was slightly wet in your armpits, but the rest of your shirt was able to dry relatively quickly. And also, as you were hiking up the mountain, you decided to remove layers, allowing yourself to not get too
Oh.
hot or sweaty. And that is the reason why you're not experiencing hypothermia right now. Because as you can tell, getting sweaty in a cold survival situation could be life or death. And a good rule of thumb is if it's cold enough to wear multiple layers, it's too cold to wear a cotton-based layer or cotton at all. And while it may seem counterintuitive to remove layers when you're in a cold
Interesting.
environment, if you are exerting energy and on the verge of sweating, it is best to remove these layers to prevent sweating as much as you can. As thick as your friend's plot armor is, he is struggling at this point and still somehow alive. He is dealing once again with hypothermia,
his plot
and
armor's
you guys
crazy.
have no
This
access to
man's
fire
like- he
or
might be the
anything to warm him up.
protagonist at
Your
this
friend
point.
randomly asks you if you
'Cause
have
he is
any
moving
alcohol on you,
crazy.
and coincidentally, you did.
Made
You had a
every
small
mistake.
bottle of some pretty strong alcohol in your backpack, and you wondered
Wait.
why he wanted it. But before you could
To
even
heat
ask
him
him
up?
what
That's
he
not
wanted it
even
for,
real.
he grabbed the bottle out of your hands and chugged
That's not even
After
gonna heat
wiping
him
his
up.
mouth,
That
he
just-
tells you that obviously drinking alcohol warms you up. It makes you
No,
feel
it
warmer
doesn't.
and
It
increases
just
your
makes you
body
feel
temperature.
warm.
And while I believe this is a
That's
myth
so
we've all
cap.
heard, it's been debunked numerous times, and it
Yeah, that's
also
super
is
cap.
completely counterproductive. The origin of this myth is
Mm-hmm.
actually interesting and comes from a Saint Bernard dog that was carrying a brandy flask around its neck, and the dog was saving people
excuse
that
me.
was buried in the French Alps. And unfortunately, this brandy may help you feel better, but definitely won't make you better. If you've experienced
Mm-hmm.
the alcoholic beverage, then you've probably noticed the sensation at some point of warmth. And this isn't because the alcohol is raising your body
That's
temperature.
because
It's
the
actually
thinning,
because
right?
the alcohol is making your blood vessels dilate, stimulating the
Yeah.
nerve endings in your skin. But it doesn't actually increase your body temperature. And
Blood
if you
vessel
are in
thinning.
a cold environment that is
Or
specifically
dilation.
life or death, this dilation of the blood vessels will cause your body temperature to fall and likely cause you to die much faster than you would have
Yeah,
if you
he's
just
gonna-
stayed sober.
he's
So
outta
although
there, bro.
alcohol
Was
may
that a
give you
Minecraft
the
effect?
simulation of warming up and potentially take your mind off of the pain you're in, it's definitely not doing you any favors in the survival department. Realizing the severity of the situation, you come to the conclusion that you need to get out of this mountain quick. And while your friend is incapacitated and breaths away from death, you realize your best bet was to turn your friend into a toboggan and ride him down the mountain like Mrs. Kwan in the Cat in the Hat movie. And in only a few minutes,
Dang,
you went
yo,
from the top of
slimed
the
him out.
snow-capped mountain to a place you weren't in yet. You weren't in the forest anymore. You were on a beach. And luckily, it was warm enough to help you and your friend feel better, and you noticed that you were on an ocean.
Nice.
And this ocean
They
could
actually
be
saved
your
him,
ticket
okay.
to freedom. With
We
both
saved
you
him.
and your friend being on your last brain cells, you both
Had to slime
intuitively
that
build
guy
a
out.
raft
That's
with
crazy.
absolutely no plan of going anywhere and no knowledge on any sort of nautical
Good thing it
construction.
didn't come to
Regardless, you make
cannibalism.
a makeshift raft and
That'd
set
have
sail,
been-
hoping that maybe somebody on the water will see
No
you
blood
and
right now.
save you. After
Right now.
hours of sitting on your raft, you and your friend are once
Not
again
bad.
hungry. And while your friend is still sobering up, you decide your best bet is to look for some fish. You take a
Shout out
dive
to
off your
everyone who knows
raft
what
and you
I'm
find
talking
yourself
about when I
surrounded
said
by a
blood right
school
now.
of fish, but you're unable to catch any. That is, when you look through the school of fish and notice that a large shadow is approaching you. This isn't a big fish. This is a shark. And it's coming directly for you. You have nanoseconds to try to decide what your next move would be. And the first thing that comes to mind is movies and TV shows showing you that if you punch a shark, you're gonna be all right. So quickly and intuitively, as the shark approaches you, you don't move out of the way. You simply assume a karate stance and prepare to punch the shark. Now here's the deal. If you were actually going to go through with this, there's two likely outcomes. The first is that you are able to successfully punch the shark and scare it away, similar to the black bear, making it seem like you're not worthy prey. But the more likely outcome is that you extend your arm and have your arm ripped off by a shark and then have the rest of your body consumed shortly after. Underwater, you have almost no strength whatsoever. Like just
mobility,
try
yeah.
throwing a full force punch next time you're in a pool underwater. It's gonna do
Yeah,
almost
like,
nothing.
that's
And
hard.
besides this, sharks
Especially
are
how
ruthless killing
fast
machines.
sharks are
Even if you could throw
in
your
the water.
strongest punch at a shark, it's not going to be phased. Combine that with your lack of agility in the water and the shark's endless agility in the water, your strike effectiveness in even misdirecting the shark is
Especially if his mouth
extremely
is
low.
open,
If a shark
like-
was in your area, you could easily push it out of your way or misdirect it by pushing its head if you had the leverage to do so. But even that is potentially risky. But in the situation when a shark is coming at you with the intent of damage, your best bet is to
You gotta
attack
dodge, right?
sensitive areas, specifically
Or
by
hit the
plunging your
gills.
thumb into the shark's eye
the
or
eyes.
gills. Really,
Yeah.
the only two areas where you can cause significant damage and at least make the shark retreat temporarily. And so, in a last-minute split decision, you decide not to punch the shark, but to actually poke it in the eye, causing the shark
Dodge
to cry
left.
and turn around, leaving you
Gills,
alone,
yeah.
and giving you the chance to climb
The
back
eye
the
one is
raft with
risky,
your
though,
friend.
'cause
At
his
this
mouth
point,
is gonna be
you and your
open.
friend have been through hell and back.
If he's
your
coming
friend
at you
more
and he's
so
that
than you,
close,
but
his
you are
mouth's gonna
both
be
now
open, so you
laying on
better
your
not
back,
miss.
looking up at the sky, exhausted. And at this point, accepting your
like,
fate
you could
and
just, like,
understanding that
redirect
maybe
and
this
just,
trip was a
like, catch
mistake.
your
And as
arm
you
when you try
slowly
to punch
close
him
your
in the eye. I
eyes and
wouldn't go
take
for that. I
what
would, like, like
appear to be your
sidestep and go
last few
for the
breaths,
gills
you
first.
notice a white light appear
This
in your
way is,
vision.
like,
A light that
frazzled.
is so bright and so inviting. And you hear a noise, an almost angelic
Maybe I have
noise.
something
And
sharp or
before you
something.
get the chance to meet your maker, you are hit in the testicles by a rope ladder that was dropped on your raft. And you realize that this light was a spotlight from the same helicopter that dropped you off. And
guy
while the
loves,
pain you are
like,
experiencing is unbearable, you realize that you and your
animating
friend
the
are finally
reproductive
safe.
system.
You both climb the ladder and board the helicopter and feel like you have been given a second chance at life. As you both are flying home with the crew, the pilot asks you how your trip was and if you guys were able to enjoy the park that they left you in only a few miles out of town. You and your friend look at each other and decide that it's better if you kept your stories to yourself and just told them you guys had fun, but that you wouldn't be returning anytime soon. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video on screen. It's a video I made about the worst times to ever be alive in human history. That video is insane. Thank you
I did
guys
see
so
that.
much for watching. And as always,
What's that?
trust me, bro.
I did like this video. Thanks, man. I appreciate you making this. This was very insightful. And if you guys liked it too, hey, go ahead and follow bro on or subscribe to bro on YouTube, you know. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Let me know which one of these you guys would not die to in the comments. Which one of these, like, if you knew all of these or if you knew like none of them, which one of them would you not die to? And which ones would you? But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. I'll catch you later in the next video. Bye.